wanting to know how I created a map for our Terranoth games, I thought I'd film it. So let's see what we've got here. This is our current map. I'm not going to put any other audio in this video. It's just going to be my microphone. Hopefully you can't hear my music coming through my headset too easily. I stream a little bit of this because, let's face it, there's not that much to it. It's pretty simple stuff. Also, the most fun thing I have with Photoshop is the fact that I I often kind of forget how to use it myself. So we'll see how we go. I'm not sure where to begin. Let me just fill around with some audio settings though. That might be good. It's one of these buttons. Here we go. Let me just try this. Yeah, okay. I can sort of hear myself now. That's a little better. All right then. So what are we doing? So at the end of our last play session, we kind of created some stuff, and I drew a picture of that on Photoshop because I thought, oh, I'm going to need that at some point. So I should be able to import that image on here and show it on a screen. Hang on. What am I going to call this? Doodle. I suppose I should bring this on this screen. You can sort of see what I'm doing. We have a doodle somewhere. There it is. This beauty. Right. Let's maybe made that a little less big. Okay, so we kind of drew this thing. And the idea was that we'd have some kind of division of like plains, hills, mountains, stuff. So I'm gonna just tuck that. I'm just gonna tuck that in the corner, maybe about there. I need to bring it up on my screen too, otherwise I can't see what I'm looking at here. All right, so what we want to do is we kind of want to, this little area here, we want to make a new document focusing on this. And then using that's in the bottom left, we're going to recreate that somehow. We shall see. Now, I think the size of this document here is A3 sized. So I'm not sure if to make, when we do this pine hole area, if we're going to do it as A5 or A4. So, I don't know. Might as well start with A4 because we can always go smaller. So, hopefully I got these plumbed in already. International, yeah, A4. Do we want it wider? I suppose we want it wider. Let's just set those parameters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't ever fiddle with any of these things. I don't really know what they do. All right, we have to presume that's our A4 size. Now, the other thing that's going to help me get along a little bit here is we want to reference what we already kind of had created. And I'm going to just create this as a little image like that. And undo. Let's get rid of those colours. So we've got this. Right, so I've got this as a nice little reference image. And in fact, I wonder if I've got a way I can just very quickly, I can put this on the screen for you to more easily see as well. Zodoodle 2. The number of subfolders and stuff going on this is a bit much. Alright, let me import that as well, one moment. Blah, 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 blah. Image. Sorry, just again so you can see. Let me bring this over. You'll get a bit of inception going on now. Can add a new source image. Call it Doodle2. Browse to that image, which is... Oh, I stuck it in there by mistake. Let's bring that up a layer. Okay. I'm just going to shove this, I don't know, down there. I know it's really clogging up the screen, but I mean, it's already going to be looking pretty difficult to see what's going on. So just thought I'd add to the overall difficulty of this. Okay. So we start with a blank piece of paper. Not exactly great. What I will do is I am going to import that first doodle. I'm going to bring it on screen here for me. Duplicate that across into our untitled doc. Here we are. And I'm just going to make this kind of 10% see-through stuff. Resize this. Hold shift to keep the aspect ratio. I think that's how it's done. I'm not really one for shortcuts with Photoshop. I often forget how to do even basic stuff. Anyhow, what should we call this? Let's keep our names consistent, I guess. A doodle 2. Doodle 1? It's doodle 1. That's our doodle 2 layer. Right. What do we need? We don't need... I don't know. I don't know, what do we need? Well, okay, so one thing that I was trying to explain to Jono is kind of how I got started in the first place with all these brushes. Now, I can't recall the website I went to, but it cost me like $10, maybe less. It was pretty cheap anyway. And from there, I got a whole raft of really awesome brushes, which you can see here. This is my list of brushes. And they're all kind of fantasy-based, by and large. Some are very standard brushes, like we've got like a quill style. So you can see that there. So there's kind of like a little bit of motion to it. It's very, very nice. What else we have? Kind of like a map style feature. That's probably a little bit too small to see, but if I make it really big, you'll see it's that kind of dotted line stuff. Let's get rid of that layer, do another. What else do we have on here? We have some interesting shader things. I've never seen anything like this before. So that splodge, you're thinking, what's so special about this? If I drop the flow rate, so it's currently 100, put it down to 5%. So imagine like the rate at which the ink is coming out the pen, if you like. Now if I spread this around, you get this nice, gentle shading. Don't know how he's made it. It is a repeating texture. Now on its own, it kind of does look like utter garbage, but when you put it around little features and you can just add a little bit more over and over, it does, you can get some nice kind of popping of detail going on. What else do we have that was particularly good? Well, there's all of these things. So what am I talking about here? And again, the size is going to be quite small, so I'm going to make them quite big. Oh, let's get the flow rate back to 100%. Actually see what we're doing. So you've got those classic kind of fantasy shapes going on here. So what's that? Big hill. Lots of hills, lots of mountains on this. There's even kind of mountain ranges. Again, make it big enough so you can see. That looks pretty good. Now, you don't need to put down too many of these things before you start to kind of be able to almost tell a little bit of a story with just some very basic brushes. So some quite exotic stuff in here. There's buildings, and in fact we do need a very particular building. We need our Pine Hall. I don't know which one it is. There's hundreds and hundreds of brushes in here. We have farms. Let's show a farm. Is this farm? Is this just trees? Just trees. I appreciate in your device that you're watching this on, this is probably going to be either looking too small to see anything, or you see what I'm seeing, which is all this looks quite blurry. And that's because, of course, all of these brushes come in a set style. So if I say tavern, it's actually right there. When you zoom on in, yes, okay, it's going to look a little bit naff, but once it's printed out, that's actually pretty reasonable. So keep in mind, we are working with an entire A4 piece of paper here. All right, so let me bin off that layer. Okay, and this is the reason why I wanted this little see-through doodle, or the thing you just on your screen seen bottom left. So we've got a couple of main features that we're going to put in. We want to be putting in, it's kind of divided into 3 sectors, if you like. We have hills, top right. In fact, let's make this a little larger. Where are you, OBS? Okay. So top right, hopefully you can see that. It says hills. Left middle, we've got the plains. And then we've got our mountains. And running through the mountain is a river. Doesn't matter where that river goes. No, it's completely arbitrary. But it is going to be interesting, and we haven't actually done rivers before. If I hop back over to our big map, just move that off to one side. In fact, let's hide these. You can see what we do have are lakes. I mean, if you saw my folder structure before, it's even worse on Photoshop. I wish I had a way to zoom in on OBS. I don't know, does this work? This is probably not the best way of doing it. But it kind of gets the idea across, I suppose. But there's lots of folders going on down here on the right. An awful lot. Oh, come on, I bet there's a quick way of doing this too. Come on, just get back on the screen. It's one of those you sort of wish you never bothered. Okay, so what I did last time is I started with these large lakes. And I started with this river. But really the river here, top left, functions no differently than this lake here. So the river we want to do in our doodle kind of has to thread itself between on the mountain. So I almost want to say, I kind of maybe want to put the mountains in first. I could cop out of this and not put the rivers where the mountains are. I don't know. Let's find out, shall we? When it came to doing this much larger map, I kind of split them up into different areas. So I have the lakes as one sort of layer. You can see me turning them on and off there. Had a little port town area. What else? This castle kind of area on the right. Chunky bit in the middle. Chunky bit on the right. That swampy area. I had roads and stuff that were really just all kind of done in note form to begin with, just so I could sort of figure out where I wanted to put the terrain and where to purposely leave gaps. Borders, that's just a bit of fluff to add on, and same with all the labels. Okay, so labels, don't need to worry about that. Borders, don't need to worry about that until the very end. And really the reason I broke it up like that is because this took me kind of a couple of weeks just off and on working on it a little bit, and it's easy to get overwhelmed when you've got so much. And I thought, oh, I'll end up not bothering to put detail in because I'm just trying to get it finished. And instead what's happened is I've put in just way too much detail. So when this is printed off, which I have got it behind me, it's fine, but the buildings don't necessarily jump out at you. But if I zoom in, and because I'm often working at this this level of zoom, again, it's perhaps not immediately obvious for you, and perhaps it is a little bit more now. You can see the castle, you can see all these buildings amongst all these trees, and so it's quite like an extensively built out town and farmland. And yet, when you view it as a whole, it's just a largely kind of black blob going on down there. So I know next time when we work on this document, not to put things too close together. I think trees work okay when they're clumped. That's fine, but the buildings themselves, I think you need to make it really obvious. Like, here is a settlement, and not trying to clutter it too much. Make it more distinct to the eye. All right. Where do we begin? We can begin wherever. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to have a layer for the mountains, a layer for the hills, and then a layer for the plains. Also, just to refer back to Doodle 2, Pine Hall is itself surrounded by a bunch of other areas, and only some of these areas we've defined so far. So maybe where I have this sort of sitting in the background, maybe it should sit more to the right. Maybe something like that, to allow the players to define kind of what this area is over to the left, and that's something for the future. Yeah, I quite like that. In terms of all the things we've got, I think this is a road. I'm assuming that's what it is. It's not labelled as a road. Clearly didn't do too well in my note here. We've got a shrine or something up for the top. We've got to do some hills. So hills are, I found tricky to get looking right. After a while, you've just got just a mess. Mountains are quite good. There's quite a lot of decent mountain brushes. The plains are going to be quite tricky too, because although there's a really good grass brush, when you use it over and over, it gets a little bit same, and your eyes start spotting the patterns really easily. So I need to break that up with trees. And then as to the area that stops being plains and into an area that is not defined yet, I don't know what I'm going to do there. I'm not sure. I have a nice little cloud brush I might be able to use. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, annoyingly, this list is not alphabetized. I can redo this whole list, but there's too much. Certainly, if I was ever going to design a brush pack, I would think about where things were going. Like, I might put foliage all together, then buildings, then iconography, let's say. And there's certainly some element of thought that went into this, but not as much as I would like. Here we are. So we've got clouds 1 through to clouds 5. So, for instance, and I'm not saying I would do this exactly like this, certainly not this size, just as an example. If I was wanted something to be a little bit mysterious, kind of like how a map maker would when depicting the ocean for an area that wasn't so clear, they might fill it up with creatures or animals. Maybe the way to kind of get that idea across is to sort of say, hey, there's something over here, but we don't know what it is. And I'm sure you spotted it already now that the limited number of clouds, okay, there's 5 clouds, we can make different sizes of them, but they're quite unique, these shapes. So you do need to kind of mix and match the sizes quite a lot. Otherwise you start saying, oh, it's that blob with the one small one at the bottom and the medium-sized ones either side. If you had this all the time, it becomes obvious, doesn't it? It's like looking at wallpaper. All right, so anyway, might do the cloud thing on the left. Might leave it empty. Don't know. Anyway, there's my little note thing so you can sort of see what I'm going at. And I am just going to have a little play around. I think I'm going to start with the mountains. And I'm not going to bother about it being exactly on these lines. It's just a guide. I've fallen off my chair. There's one thing I do need to integrate into these mountains, and that is a mine. So I need to leave a little bit of a space for that building. And there's a tower, so I need to leave it a little bit of space for that. Still really not sure what to do about this river. I don't know. Okay, let's do it. So new layer. We'll call it the mountains on original. Now there's loads and loads and stuff in terms of brushes. There's standalone mountains, there's mountain ranges. They're all cool, and I'll probably end up using loads of them. One thing I will do is I will keep them at the brush size we've got here. I'm also going to zoom in on this image, so you'll be able to see hopefully a lot more clearly as to what's going on. So another thing I will do is I'll make another little note layer. That's my quill, and I'm just gonna kind of mark off that area as being the mine. I'll leave that for the road. Need to leave this space here for the tower. So on that basis, if I can fill all this in with mountains, great. But if we ever wanted anything story-wise, maybe I want to kind of leave a bit of a gap here for some other building too. Alright, so with that decided, I'll just make sure I don't fill in these spaces. Let's give that, I don't know. Right, back to our mountains layer. Back down to the mountains, wherever they are. I'll start painting them in. Let me make that little doodle, I don't know, maybe nice and thin or something. Gotta hold. It's opposite to Photoshop. Son of a bitch. There we go. Oh, that's okay. Right then. So we've got all kinds of orientations for mountains here. And the other thing is, keep in mind, if there is a road, would we have a road and immediately mountains? Probably not. Probably kind of builds up. So and there's the orientation of the mountains to keep in mind. And the author, did he do every orientation possible? No, he didn't. So let's see here. We could start at the bottom and work up, maybe. All right, let's just put something in. There we go. Our first mountain done. Simple as. I always forget what's the way to get rid of this menu without actually clicking. Is it middle mouse? There is a button. I know it exists. Well, the escape key will work just as well for now. Okay, so I'm just going to start like kind of dropping these one on top of the other. And again, try and mix these up a little bit. What have we got? So we've got different orientations, okay. So we've got a little tower, so maybe we'll shove those in there. Actually, I'm sure there's loads of thin ones. It's just a matter of finding them sadly. Lots of singular peaks. I'm sure there's way more ranges. Ah, here we go. Here they are. The hill range. Trying to find something to kind of, I don't know, kind of lead, kind of tell a story almost. But then again, a nice big brush is welcome too. All right. And if you paid attention in geography class, you'll remember that a lot of mountain ranges tend to kind of flow along the same lines. So you think the Pennines going north to south? Doesn't tend to exist all on its own. Same for the Lake District. You can see the ridges on the map as you look across. So maybe if we can try and recreate that in some way, some shape or another. What else we got here? Some big guys. Is that's that one there? Maybe don't want to use that too close. Cliffside, more mountain ranges. We use that one up there. Yep. There's a lot more mountain parts than I thought there were. Literally one's labelled here, mountain parts. Right, size of that, perhaps a little too big for our needs. We just kind of use it on the edge there maybe. Alright, we're getting there, we're getting there. Of course the beautiful thing is with having Photoshop is you can easily change it. Alright, so I want to kind of leave a nice little gap here almost. Although I've got a kind of a natural gap there already. Yeah, quite like that. Might just fill that middle area in with hills. I don't know, let's see. Certainly feel like we need a little bit more going on around here. So almost creating like little valleys between them all here. This is okay. This is all right. This isn't what I intended, but here we are. It kind of makes sense. We've got this little tower area, and I was thinking, why would we have that? So maybe I just go to my little note layer here. Perhaps rather than the tower being up at the top, maybe the tower would more sit kind of there. Kind of like it's watching the approaches through all these mountain passes. Yeah, okay, I like that. Let's give that a go, shall we? Yeah, okay. Well, let's consider that then. So they leave the players something to define in that middle space. And I'll try and create a few, kind of like a few routes up. Maybe I can even make another one there. Yeah. Okay, right. I like this. This is going places. Back down to the mountain tiles, see what else we can do. I'm sure I've sailed right on by them. Yeah, they're here. Okay. Oh, I mean, do I go with an absolute behemoth like that? It's tempting, very tempting. Problem with that is finding somewhere to put it. I might just nick the little edges instead. Now I kind of do want to put this in here, but here we go. So I put this down. Obviously, it's just a paintbrush, right? It's just a weirdly shaped paintbrush, so you can see all the crap that was behind it. So what I will do, knowing that I kind of want to put it there, I think if I just erase those little bit of mountains, and hopefully when I pop this back in, yeah, that might work. I just need to get rid of a little bit more down here, perhaps. Hopefully your eye won't spot this. Looks okay. Kind of blended in. There's a little bit on the peak here that doesn't look so great. There we are. And again, when that's printed out, you're just really never going to see these tiny, tiny details. Let's try and make it another little valley. Let's see what other mountain ranges we've got. Okay, get something to swing around that side. So I always want to block that area off, really. So I've used that down there. Okay, hang on. What have we got we could use? And if we want another route, we're going to need another route. So we're going to need to get rid of a couple of these mountains. A slightly larger brush. And I think if I was to get rid of that, I don't think anyone will be none the wiser. Ah, that looks okay. Do I want to leave this open? Sure. Why not? All right. So I think what I want to do now is just create a few kind of mountains up here. Just so these layers don't look so like, oh, that one bit is the mountain range and you're done. It's taking shape, little bit by little bit. I'm not going to stream this entire creation, by the way. I'll just do a little bit more. Because ultimately, I've not really demonstrated that much other than how to use the brush pack. I paint it over and over again. Not exactly difficult stuff. I really need to remember the shortcut for that. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Alright, might just want to maybe fill this area in a little bit more. Just before I start on the hills in front. What's that look like? Okay, good. Not what I want. But good to know it's there. Tuck something in there perhaps. What have we got? Some crazy mountains here. Very cool textures. Obviously a lot of time and effort was spent on these. And that does look really good. These are almost too large to know what to do with them. Very cool. Oh yeah, that's why we used them down there. Again, might just nick the little tips. Ah, perfect for just filling in a little bit of detail. Whoop. Do I want to leave that open? I guess I do. Okay, might just thicken that a little bit out there. What else I've got to choose from? So much choice. I don't know. Is that the same piece? It is. Kind of jumps out. Jumps out as a... You kind of think to yourself, I've seen that before. Alright. Well, that's looking alright. Alright, a little bit more clear if I take away the doodles. Okay. Alright, well, I'm not going to say it's done, but it's kind of meeting that initial vision of our mountains on the right there. We're going to have the hills up at the top. That's going to follow a similar kind of design principle. Might even be able to sneak the rivers in here. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Right, well, I'll be sure to come back with a little bit more in future. And we'll see how this is getting on and see if we recreated that. But down there. I don't know. We'll see. Until next time.